long enough. At one poem, not a lot, if you just do that one poem and don't worry about this or that, from the dormant imagery of one verse line, if you work at it long enough, there's exuded a sparkling fountain of energy that grafts itself to your spirit, and you then have adopted that. So in the most miserable of circumstances, like the saxifrage flower that cracks the rock, after working on the poem, you walk out and you feel that whatever wall there be in front of me, I will go right through it. You have this amazing sense of transcendency.
For the longest time, I haven't been able to cry. Tears start to come while I'm watching a movie. The tears start to come, swelling my whole body. A closed tulip suddenly starting to open under the moon, and then the petals of my eyelids stiffen, and something in me braces, and I don't cry. And when we crashed into a telephone pole, and my dad ordered me not to cry, I was terrified, almost killed, but don't cry, he said. I couldn't cry because men don't cry, and when the dog bit me on the leg, I couldn't cry, and when Joey died, I couldn't cry, and how cool it would feel to have a tear slide from the corner of my eye on my cheek, following the curve to my mouth, and I'd lick its taste, my salt, but I don't cry. You know, I love the color blue, and I love the color brown, and I'd love to touch my chapped cheeks, my bruised face, my frightened shoulder, and whisper in tears my compassion. But I've always had to stop it up in me, hold my breath back, keep my mouth shut, my hands tight, so not to cry. Man, I cry, and it's a lie I don't. I embrace my brother and pray on his shoulder to shoulder. I want to kneel and kiss the earth. And if I could cry, and just thinking of me not crying all these years make me want to cry now. But I've been taught not to cry because big people don't cry. And people say, ain't those alligator tears, boy? You can't fool me with those tears. But I ain't fooling nobody. Not crying. If need be to get back to my tears, I'm crying till there ain't a single tear left. I'm crying for what we've been through, not crying for how we fooled ourselves thinking men don't cry. Let me cry again. And all you dry-cheeked, nut-cracking ball whackers don't want to get you a Rambo bone-breaking boots, but step aside. Because I hated goodbyes all my life. They were crying events. I felt myself saying goodbye to grandma, to my brother, to my friends, to my neighborhood, to all the familiar faces, from my teachers to my girlfriends to other friends, and I never shed a tear. And though I felt them coming up at me, I bit my teeth down hard to hold the tears back. I lowered my face and I thought about something else. I kept hearing his voice in me, hundreds of voices in me, all screaming for me not to cry. Don't cry because boys don't cry. You're going to leave yourself open. You're going to become liable to get an axe in your heart by some nun-crying fool. You might even be a sissy. You'll be a bootho. You'll be hurting yourself if you cry. And I hurt when I didn't cry. All those times when I didn't cry in front of people, too ashamed to cry, too fearful others would see me and think I'm not a man, too fearful to be made fun of. Just heard the news of some terrible tragedy, and I can't cry because it ain't right to cry. And I need to weep. Each man crying because his daughter died. Because we've been too long not crying. Because our fists are tired from being clenched. And our faces just might break off. And we need to cry all those goodbyes out and get up in the middle of the night. And we need to cry for no reason but to cry for all those we never cried for. Cry to get our wings fluttering again through the rainbow of our emotions. Cry for those in prison, for the cell, in that prison cell, for the field worker's daughter in Delano eaten by cancer from pesticides, and cry for those thousands who lost homes because they couldn't pay the mortgage, and those sleeping under bridges, and the hopeless, and I moan for the world, and all those who need our tears, and stop talking politics and integrity and who's right and who's wrong, and cry down into a big lake where we can all cleanse the goodbyes and our apathy. Let's cry and cry and cry and cry the blues away, and cry and cry and cry, and let papas cry for the children, and let children cry in my arms. And let women cry in my arms, and let men cry in my arms, and let us all cry and cry, because we've been abused and abusing too long. And after lovemaking and fighting, let us cry and cry prayer and give us a new language made of whimpers and sniffles and sobs, and let us cry, oh, grandfather and first mother, oh, cry out loud, oh, louder, cry, baby, cry, cry, cry.